Hi and welcome to this video series on how to use Brixx. We're going to start by building up a plan today so I can showcase every single piece of functionality that you can do in the application. In another video, I'm then going to lay out the components that make up a plan in Brixx and go into depth on what you can model using each of these components. For today though, we're going to be learning everything about the interface and exactly how you can build up plans in Brixx from scratch. Okay, so I'm here in my Brixx account area. This is where all the plans that I build are stored. Currently, I'm on a business license, and this lets me build 5 plans. There are a few other different types of license in Brixx, such as Essentials, which says you build 1 plan, but I'm here on the business one today so that I can show you some features like copying plans and also making longer plans. So I've got an existing plan here that I've got in my account already, and I can do a few things with this cogwheel, like upload a logo to it, or copy it, or indeed delete it and rename it. I'll show you that a little later on. So the first thing I'm going to do today is start a new plan, and I'll show you how we build these up in Brixx. So I've got a few options of how I start. I can start in Brixx, in which case I'm going to build my entire forecast here in Brixx, or I can start by drawing my information from somewhere else. This sets up the plan to begin with and gives me a starting point. So if you do want to start a plan from Crunch, for example, this will bring across information from your Crunch account to create a structure and a set of components to give you a starting point for building the plan. If you start in Brixx, that starting point is provided by a template. If I click on here, you'll see the different templates that we begin with. These just set up an initial structure in your plan in Brixx, which you can then go on and modify and change. It's exactly the same if you start from Crunch, except there you'll be starting a plan that's bespoke based on the information in your Crunch account. So I'm going to start a blank plan today. This is something that's for experienced users, and I'm hoping that by the end of this video series, this will describe you. A blank plan has nothing in it to begin with, so we're going to build up our own structure from scratch. And this is a really great teaching aid because it really makes you understand how Brixx works from the ground up. I'm going to give my plan a name. I'm just going to call it my example business plan. And this name is going to appear at the top of all of my downloaded reports and also in the application itself. Anything that I'm doing here I can change later on, so if you do make a mistake or want to change the name of the plan, you can go to settings later and alter that. The next thing I'm going to set is the start of my forecast. So remember, in Brixx we're just dealing with the future. We're looking at a business from a certain point of time and pushing that forward. Now, this isn't to say that you can't start a plan in the past, but the strength of Brixx is in forecasting. And as time goes by, looking at how your forecast compares to your actuals as they come in. So I'm going to start this plan in January 2023. I'm going to make it last for 3 years here. You can build plans up to 10 years in length in Brixx, and the different package that you're on will determine what length of plan that you can build. You can also have tax set automatically in Brixx, so it can be set to automatically calculate VAT, for example. You can turn this on a case-by-case basis after creating the plan as well. I'm just going to leave this off for the moment, and then I'll give you an example of it when we're in the plan. I'm going to leave currency here as pounds, but we do also have several other currencies that you can plan it. Okay, I'm then creating this plan, and what this is doing is setting up that 3-year timeline that I've instructed it to build in that Getting Started screen. Okay, so this is the main planning interface of Brixx. On the left-hand side, in this dark panel, is where I build up the structure of the business. This should be a picture that represents the business in the way that you or a business owner understands it. On the right-hand side, then, is the outputs of this structure, the dashboard that we're looking at the moment, and also the reports, a cash flow, P&L, balance sheet, and a few other reports as well. So I'm going to start by adding a section here. This is the sort of structure that will be populated either by starting from Crunch or alternatively by starting from one of the templates in Brixx. So when I add a section, this is basically like a folder in Windows. I can name it. I might call it sales. A lot of templates begin with a section called sales, But you don't have to follow this formula. If you have a consultancy business with 10 top consultants, then your top level sections here could be each of those consultants. And then underneath you build out a structure for what each of those consultants brings to the business and what their costs are and so forth. Or if you have a business that takes place in different locations, perhaps like a chain of restaurants, then you might have those locations as the top level structure here. It all depends on how you want to present your data later on. And this will become obvious as I start building up the plan and showing you how these sections, groups and components appear in your financial reports. So I've added a section. The next level down is a group. Think of this like a subfolder. I'm just going to leave this as sales group. And as soon as I add that, I've got the option to add a component to it, or several components, in fact. A component is a financial building block. It performs a specific set of calculations in the plan, and it's designed to represent a real-world business activity. So we're not necessarily adding, lines from a chart of account here. The idea is to build something that's real and be able to then show the plan to someone and have them understand it in the way that it's built. So if I had a source of income, this might be a product or a service that I'm selling. It could be something that's a one-off source of income, but more likely in Brixx, it's going to be a recurring source of income, such as the sale of a service or, as I said, the sale of a product. Now, I like really, really simple examples. So I'm just going to be selling some fruit here. I'm going to be selling bananas. Now, this means that my section here, my group rather, I'm actually going to call fruit. Okay, and you'll guess what I'm going to create later. I'm going to create vegetables. So when I sell bananas using this income component, I can then click on it and see how I'm going to forecast my sale of bananas. I can choose whether I want to enter this as just an amount of income that I'm forecasting to receive, or as an income per unit. So it might be that I sell bananas for 40p each, and perhaps I expect to sell 1,000 per month. Now, with many inputs in Brixx, you can flip this to a table. I can do that just by clicking this toggle on here, and this changes my input to something that's a bit more like a spreadsheet. You can, in fact, copy and paste to and from spreadsheets from these grids. I can select anything I like and then copy and paste that, or paste information in from an external spreadsheet. But what I'm going to show you is the ability to fill this. This is a shortcut that you can use for adding an assumption here. So perhaps I want to say I'm going to start with 1,000 units that I'm selling each month, and I want to increase this by 5% a month, for example. So I can also choose a particular period if I want to increase that. So say in this second year here, perhaps I intend that I'm going to sell a lot more bananas in this period. I could increase this by, say, 20%. So this is an adjustment on this existing data rather than a replacement of what's already there. Okay, and so this can be used to model a bit of seasonality. All right, so we've got a few other options down here: transaction timing, tax, and adding a linked component. I'm going to leave these off for the moment, and we can have a look at how just these two bits of data, the unit price and the number of units that we're selling, comes through to our financial reports. I'm just going to save and close this. So the first thing we can see is here on our financial dashboard, we've got a cash flow chart at the top, and I can see my cash received each period increasing here, and we've also got a cumulative cash line here. Now I can do a few things here. I can turn any of these items on or off just by clicking on the key. Quite handy if you want to just present a certain piece of information. And there are also some other bits and pieces that are common to both the dashboard and reports in Brixx. To start with, I can choose the period of the plan that I want to view. Remember, we made a plan that's 3 years long. So if I want to view all years of the plan at one go, I can just set that to all years, and this is now showing all 3 years of the plan in months. I can also change this from monthly to a quarterly presentation or a yearly presentation. We've got the data here in months in our bananas component, and so we can present that in either months, quarters, or years. I'll just put this back to monthly. All right. We've got a few other charts here as well that we haven't really filled very much in yet from, because we've only got one source of income in the plan. What we can see is the asset chart populating here with our surplus cash. This is a cumulative balance sheet based chart. And I've also got our break-even chart here starting to bring across some cumulative income as well. You can see these curves are the same. All right, let's have a look at reports. This is the other major part of Brixx where you can drill in and understand where your figures are coming from. So first of all, we've got the budget report. This is a sort of subset of the profit and loss report. It's designed to be easy to use, and it goes down to EBITDA down at the bottom here. So for every line in a report that has this little chevron symbol by it, I can drill in and see where in this structure that I've built and named my information is coming from. So I can see this revenue is coming from sales, it's coming from fruit, and it's coming from bananas. And as I build out the structure of this plan, I'm going to be building out an even bigger structure in all of my reports that I can drill into. And it's incredibly useful to be able to see where in a report these figures are coming from, especially once you get to have hundreds of components in the plan. So this is the budget report, as I said, subset of profit and loss. If I go to the cash flow, you'll see this is a full cash flow here that starts with cash received. Again, I can drill into that structure in exactly the same way. And down at the bottom, I get down to my closing bank position, which is cumulative each period. That's showing my cash line, the same as on my dashboard. The profit and loss report is a full-length profit and loss going down through gross profit, operating, and net profit. And the balance sheet starts off, of course, with assets and ends in liabilities and equity. A balance sheet in Brixx is always balanced. We're doing the double entry accounting behind the scenes with every single component that's added to the plan. So I can see here that I've got my surplus cash of 400 in month 1, down to retained profit of 400 in month 1 as well, leading to a balanced balance sheet. Just while we're here, just like the dashboard, you can change the period that you're looking at. So I could view all years of the plan in months, in quarters, or in years. And I can do that on any report. Let's just pop that back to the first year, looking at it monthly. All right. So I've just added one component here so far. I'm going to add another that's linked to bananas. So what I'm actually going to do is go in here and add a linked component. I'm going to add cost of sales, and I'm going to use this as a delivery charge for our bananas. Inside the cost of sale component, I get a different form that I can use to enter the information for this forecast. I've got a few assumptions here about how I can enter this information, either as a percentage of sales from bananas, the cost per unit sold in bananas, or I can manually enter this delivery fee myself. I'm going to set this as a percentage of income. I'll just put this as 5%. Again, I can set this to a table if I want to vary this in future, perhaps model an increase or decrease in this cost of sale, but I'm just going to leave this as 5%. Let's just save that and we'll see that information coming through here. Okay, so you can see it's populating cash paid on goods and services here on the cash flow report. And if I drill down, once again, I'm drilling through the structure that I built here to see exactly where this figure is coming from. All right, next thing I want to do is have a look at some of the other options that I was discussing with you. So let's have a look at bananas. First of all, transaction timing. Let's say that I sell bananas, but I only get paid a month later. Well, I can add a delay that only impacts the cash flow here. I can add in a 1-month delay, and let's see what this does. So on my cash flow, you'll see that my income that I'm receiving is coming in a month later. On my profit and loss and on my budget report, I'm still receiving this revenue immediately in month 1 because this is when I'm invoicing the sale. I just receive the cash at a later date. Okay. A lot of components in Brixx do have this option, all of the costs do, and the sources of income as well. Now, something interesting here is also going to be happening on the balance sheet, just to prove to you that we're doing all the double entry correctly. I'm getting accounts receivable now of 400 in month 1. This is what I haven't been paid in cash. And as you can see down here, it's populating a short-term borrowing amount for me, as I need this amount in order to actually pay my delivery fee. I don't have any cash in month 1 at the moment. And down at the bottom, it's netting off of my retained profit and balancing. So whatever you add to the plan, excluding the opening balance, Brixx is always going to produce a fully balanced balance sheet for you. You don't have to worry about filling out different sides of the accounting equation. Okay, So I've added in these options. I want to show you one more thing, which is VAT. So if I go down here and open up tax, I can turn on VAT for this component. I can choose whether I'm having this calculate on top of the prices that I've entered or whether it's included in the price. I'm just going to leave this as on top and I'll save and close. Now we can see down here I'm starting to receive VAT from my sales. I also pay VAT to the government. And you can set up when these payments happen and if there's any delay there under settings, and then VAT, sales tax, and GST. All right, let's just head back to the dashboard. Okay, so I'm paying VAT on these bananas. I'll also pay it on my delivery charges. I'll just turn on VAT there. Okay, so you should now see that I'm filling out a few more of these charts here. This cost breakdown chart, for example, is showing VAT paid to government, VAT paid on expenses, and my cost of sale. This is across the whole year of the plan, and this is cash-based. All right, let's have a look at what I can do with these components now that I've added them. First of all, I can copy them very easily. So every component, section, and group in Brixx has this little tick box by it. This enables me to check it and then copy that component. You can see I've just done that, creating bananas #2. I'm just going to call this apples. Okay, so far so good. If I have a look at my reports, I can now drill down under cash received by fruit, bananas, and apples. I could change these and make the figures different to reflect the real side of the business. So the next thing I want to show you is the next button along from the tick box, this brightly colored button. If you mouse over it, it'll dim a bit, and that's an indication of what it does. This is actually an on-off switch. So if I want to remove bananas from the plan, I can just click that, and it will take out bananas and the associated delivery charges. If I want to put it back in, I can just put that back on again. So what this does is allow you to test out different scenarios in Brixx. You could add sections or groups that represent certain projects and then toggle them on or off. But what you really want to be able to do, as well as turning things on and off, is change the timing of when they occur. This is something that Brixx is uniquely good at, and it's this next tab along at the top up here called the timeline. So every item in Brixx has a timeline row. This is essentially a Gantt chart that I can go in and edit to change the timing of any of these financial activities. And by the way, this is going to be the case as well for any component we add, be it an asset, an investment, taking out a loan, or employing someone. Okay, so if I want to have my sale of bananas start 3 months later, I can just drag that along, and in my reports, everything to do with bananas is going to update across the cash flow, P&L, balance sheet, and also all of my charts on the dashboard. I can also change when an entire group starts. So if I want to move this fruit group 3 months in, I can do so, and that will change everything in the plan to then start 3 months later. If I want to move it back, I can just drag that back like this. All right, so far so good. These are the core pieces of functionality that you have available to you in Brixx. I'm going to go through each of these components in the next video, but for now, I think we'll move on to some of the other core pieces of functionality that you can use just with these components. All right, the next form up here is called actuals. I mentioned this earlier on, so you can add actuals in Brixx that will then be used to compare to your forecast or produce an actuals to date report. So what I've got here for my cash flow, a different form of my profit and loss, and another form of my balance sheet, is a line for every component in the plan and an additional one for any opening balance items. All right, so I've got bananas here. You can see where it sits in the plan under sales and fruit. And then down here, I've got my delivery charges. All right, let's go in and add some actuals. So I can see in January, I didn't forecast I would receive any cash for either bananas or apples. Remember, I've got that 1 month cash delay set. But perhaps in February, I actually start my sale of bananas much earlier, and I do actually receive £300 from bananas then, and apples, I sell even more. I sell £500 worth. All right, let's have a look at delivery then. I'm saying in month 1 I am paying delivery charges for apples. Let's just put that at 30, for example. And in month 2, let's call this 40. Now, I am also selling some bananas here, so in this make-believe world, we probably do start some delivery for bananas in the first month as well. Let's call this 20, and let's call this 50. These are actual figures that I'm putting in now. If you have an external spreadsheet, then you can actually paste in a column here. This form will accept any kind of column that you have in Excel and allow it to be pasted in for some quick data entry. All right, let's have a look at reports. So far, we've been looking at the forecast for all of our reports. Whenever I went to budget or cash flow or profit and loss, I was always looking at the forecast here. What I'm going to change this to now is actuals versus forecast, and this is going to give me a bit of a different presentation of information here. So it's going to display, first of all, a column for forecast, then for actual, then for difference and variance, and then it will repeat for the next month. Forecast, actual, difference and variance. I can turn the difference and variance columns off if I don't want to see them. If that's distracting, you can just toggle that on and off there. And because of how I've entered this information on a component by component basis, what I can actually do is drill into cash received here and then see my actuals for both bananas and for apples. So I can see my forecast here is 400 in February, and my actual is 500 for apples. Okay, let's just close that up. And we can have a look at the other method of viewing actuals in Brixx, which is actuals to date. Okay, so I'm just going to set the actuals to February, as we did enter some actuals in February. What this does is it shows 2 periods of actual now, followed by a forecast that's based on those actuals. So if I scroll down to the bottom here, you can see the closing bank position. This is actually from my actual values, and this is then used to inform the opening bank position of any actuals after that. All right, let's go back to the dashboard, and I'm going to make one more change here before we go on. And that's to make another copy of the components I've got in the plan. This time I'm going to copy the group. So I just select that and copy. And as I mentioned, I'm going to call this vegetables. And let's just have potatoes and parsnips. Okay, so I'm building out this structure quite quickly now. Of course, you could use these components for many different things. I happen to be using them for fruit and vegetables, but these could be subscriptions to a software platform. These could be consulting hours that you're selling, or it could be something as simple as rental income. Whatever the business requires can be modeled by these components. What I want to show you next is the ability to share the plan and download these reports that we've built. So I can share this plan with anyone that I like. I can give guest access or even invite them to be a member of my organization. If I invite a guest, then I can invite them as a viewer, in which case they can view the dashboard and reports, or I could invite them as an editor, in which case they will be able to come in and edit the plan just like I can. We were very impressed with Google Drive's method of collaboration, where you can have 2 people working on the same plan at the same time. So that's what we've implemented. You can come in and make changes to different parts of the plan simultaneously with anyone else that you've invited as a guest editor. Now, of course, because you can invite editors, we had to put in a bit of a safety mechanism. This is a version history list, and it says every change that's been made to the plan, so every save state that there's been. It says what was changed, the time it was changed, and the email address of the person who changed it. And if I click on any of these, I've also got 2 options. I can view the plan at that state, and I can also restore the plan to that state. So this functions a bit like an advanced undo button, as well as an audit trail of every action that's been taken in the plan. Finally, up here, I've got another button called Downloads. You can access this on any subscribed version of Brixx, and this allows you to download your reports and charts to whatever frequency or date range you require. You can download them as PDF, Excel, or PNG, and also choose whether you want to include things like the plan name, logo, or any drill downs in your reports. All right. The other button up here, this question mark, goes to our help area. I'll just click that to show you what this looks like. We've got a lot of help here for different aspects of Brixx, going into a lot of detail with videos and, of course, screenshots. The next button and final one is the account menu. Here I can go back to my plans, I can edit information to do with my organization, manage my billing, and change my profile as well. I'm just going to go back to plans for now, and I'll give you one last little example of what you can do in Brixx. So we made my example business plan today. I've got it to a certain state with fruit and vegetables. If I want to make a copy of it now and work on a different version of it, how would I do that? Well, I just click on this little cog button and copy the plan. This produces my example business plan copy 1. I can then go into this and I can change it as I wish. At the moment, it's an exact copy of the plan that we built with all of the financial information inside it, but I can go in then and alter this. It's not linked to the original plan that we made. It's a new copy that I can then use to do something like a best, base, and worst case scenario, for example. All right, that's a brief overview of the main interface of Brixx. In the next video, I'm going to go into more depth with what you can do in every single component, and also take a look at the settings area where you can set things like your opening balance and make changes to your taxation settings. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next video.